Draw the card. Battle slot, they're hitting hard. Power up, let's take it far. We're shining like a rising star. Shrouded Fable, burning bright. Kyurem's roar in the night. Cards are flashing, feel the light. We're in for a wild ride. Alright. Shuffle, draw the card. Battle slot, they're hitting hard. Power up, let's take it far. We're shining like a rising star. Shrouded Fable, burning bright. Kyurem's roar in the night. Cards are flashing, feel the light. We're in for a wild ride, alright.
Sup YouTube, it's Zabu's TCG here, and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. Today we're actually going to be checking out the Shrouded Fable set. This set comes out on the 2nd of August and it will be legal for the World Championships over in Honolulu, Hawaii. So we definitely need to be taking a big look at all these cards and what potentially might change in the meta. NAIC will happen this weekend, and most of that format will of course transfer over to Worlds. Not a lot is going to change, but there are definitely a couple of key cards we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to be doing a complete set review because this is a mini set and there's not a lot of crazy potential cards that we need to be standing still about. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. If you are of course hyped for today's upload, be sure to let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Only requires 1 tiny second of a time, and subscribe for more daily Pokemon TCG content. And you will definitely need to learn a thing or two about these new cards because you might incorporate them in your World Championship deck if you're going to Honolulu, Hawaii. Honolulu, Hawaii is actually going to be taking place, I think it's the 16th of August, meaning 2 weeks after the set has came out, like the Shrouded Fable set. It actually will be legal, and the first time it will be legal will be at the World Championships 2024. So before we dive into this video, also be sure to take a look at my sponsors to help out. If you are of course looking for sleeves, binders and deck boxes, head over to Dragon Shield. You can get 5% off using the coupon ZABLUES5. There is yourplaymat.com to create your own unique custom playmat, PokeTownStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs, and cardmarket.com for European players where you're able to buy as well as sell cards to people all across Europe. With that being said, let's just dive into this set. This set will actually contain like 6 EX cards, so not a lot of crazy things that we need to be taking a look at because most of them might not actually see play. There are a couple of ACE SPEC cards, 3 of them in total. We're also going to be talking about them, and a couple of trainer cards that might be impactful. So without further ado, let's dive into this complete set review. So the first card is a Joltik. We don't actually care about this at all, but also it, you can flip a coin during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage. So Panic Attack. There is a Galvantula in this set. It's a grass type. If your opponent's active Pokemon has any abilities, the attack, this Pokemon deals 50 more damage to the opponent's active. That means if the opponent has an ability, you're already slapping 50 additional damage. If this Pokemon has any lightning energy attached, you're actually slapping 80 more damage. So in total, you can slap 180 damage if you have a lightning energy and if the opponent has an ability. So 180 for 2, that's actually very interesting because this can actually one-shot a Charizard EX. So just note that down. That could be a very ridiculous way you can deal. Charizard is currently not that popular, but I still want to be showcasing it right here. There's a Rowlet 70 HP that draws a card, and that's actually not too important. But the cool thing is that there's going to be a Dartrix, and take a quick look at its attack name. United Wings, that's right. United Wings now gets a partner. We have the Flamigo, we have the Murkrow, all these Pokemon already. Now we can gain the the typing Grass, which actually we needed way earlier if Charizard was like a big portion of the meta. I think this is mainly going to be used to just dump in your discard pile to slap more damage with United Wings. Even if you use a Ditto, you can actually hit for crazy numbers now with United Wings. So definitely worth revisiting for sure. Also, a Decidueye in this set, you can tap 170, discard the basic grass energy from your hand. If you can't, this attack does nothing. So 170 for 1 energy. I think they're having the power creep very similar, like the Shinobi Blade of the Greninja EX also slaps that amount of damage, but then you can search your deck for any card, but it's an EX type, you know. I probably would never use the Decidueye. There is a Tapu Bulu. Where's Kyurem when you need it from Battle Styles? slapping 220 damage, but now how do you actually power this one up? That's the main question. Also, 140 seems to be the number for big basic non-EX Pokemon, so there's that. Houndour and Houndoom, just a couple of bulk Pokemon. There's a lot of bulk in here, by the way, so even if you take a look at all of these, Dartrix is the only worth noting thing right there. There is a future Iron Moth, and this actually slaps 120 damage and prevent all damage onto this Pokemon by your opponent's ancient Pokemon. So you have protection from ancient Pokemon decks. That's actually very hilarious, because if you're up against like a classic ancient box and you're able to get this attack off, you're actually going to be doing a lot of stuff. There's the future pot, the ACE SPEC card to power up some stuff. You can use the one prize Miraidon. So an extra tool, if ancient box actually becomes tier 1, then you might actually have this as a deck card in your future box decks. There is a Kingdra line in here, and this actually is very similar. This Kingdra EX really wants to be a Lugia V-Star, it seems. King's Order, put up to 3 water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. It doesn't specify basic Pokemon, meaning that you can also put stage 1s and stage 2s up on the bench. This is actually crazy, because Kingdra can actually summon another Kingdra and 2 Baxcaliburs on the field, and then suddenly you have an archetype that actually works out. Doesn't even need the little Frigibaxes. And then its attack slaps 50 damage plus 50 more for every water energy attached to this Pokemon. Reminds me back in the days of the Lapras, was it Lapras VMAX deck that just wants to have tons and tons of energies on the field? Well, you can actually do the same thing, have some sort of earthen vessels in your list, superior energy retrievals for if a Kingdra goes down, and that's pretty much it. It is weak to lightning. Lightning still prevalent in the meta game, with Miraidon still being there. Sometimes an Iron Torrent might pop off here, but more importantly, Iron Hands. Iron Hands with Arm Press can also make quick work of the Kingdra EX, so I'm not too keen on the Kingdra, even though its attack allows you to cheat Water-type Pokemon instantly onto the bench. But it's not an ability unlike Lugia V-Star. There is a Weavile in here, and that's actually just bulk. There is a Revavroom EX. It's a Terra Pokemon, a Lightning type, weak to fighting. You don't see that much fighting in the metagame currently. And it has the Accelerating Flash, 20 damage. And if this Pokemon moved from the bench to the active spot, you slap 120 damage more. You could have some free retreat Pokemon in your deck, like Mew EX. You could also rely upon 2 ability Pokemon, like for example Abra from the 151 set. So there are ways to get in and out of the active position time and time again. You will also need a couple of switch outs, and this is going to be 140, the number to one-shot Lugia V-Star. And things that are weak to lightning, think about the Palkia V-Star as well. Even though, now that I think about it, you can also one-shot Pidgeot EX. So Revavroom for 1 energy, slapping 140, times 2 is 280. Could be a number right there. But its second attack is where my head actually is thinking like, why? It slaps 250 damage, discard this Pokemon, and all cards attached to it. So the only way you can power this up is through the means of Metang. So you can do that, and you have to cycle it all over again. But the thing is, you get damaged, you use Speed Break, and then you discard this Pokemon and all cards. You can use Super Rod and get it back into play, evolve one of your basic Pokemon back into Revavroom EX, and off you go once again. Prize denial, I suppose. If somebody is not able to one-shot, you can always rely on the Speed Break to make sure the opponent doesn't take a prize, but then you will have to have a lot of Varooms up on your bench, otherwise the opponent just picks off these little speed Pokemon. There's a Hypno, which actually has a very interesting effect. It has the Daydream, 80 damage. During your opponent's next turn, if they attach an energy card from their hand to the defending Pokemon, their turn ends. So yeah, it's only gonna be on the defending Pokemon, meaning if you go attached to the bench, it doesn't even matter. So you can also switch out of the active position, retreat out of the active position, but they cannot attach to the active. Could this be used in some sort of a control lock version where the opponent just traps you, you don't have any switch outs remaining, and then but you still slap damage? That's the thing I'm most concerned about, because if you do slap damage, eventually the Pokemon in the active position will get knocked out, and that's why I think it is not good. Okay, this Duskull is actually pretty good, because the meetup ability allows you to put 3 Duskull from your discard pile onto your bench. Why would we need all these little fellas, you might add, is because of Dusclops. If you knock it out, you put 5 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So you can do that for every Dusclops. Just use that, knock it out, and the same goes for Dusknoir, but that puts 13 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. and then yeah, you are knocked out. So the thing you could do here is like knock yourself out, knock yourself out, knock yourself out, Iono to a low hand size, and boom, all these damage counters will be spread upon the opponent's field. So I wonder how good this will actually be. It requires a lot of setup, and you do give up prize cards, but hey, imagine this deck working out here, that you can spread out so many damage counters, maybe in combination with something that already slabs damage counters. Maybe you can pair it up with Sableye and the Lost Box Engine, a couple of like maybe a 2/2/2 line of this to make sure that you spread a bazillion amount of damage, and that maybe will actually have a dent. But if I'm looking at that right now at the current meta decks, United Wings doesn't see play, the Dartrix will not help because Charizard is not like that popular in the current meta game. All the rest are pretty much cards that will not impact the format. Moving forward is a Cresselia, which slaps 80 damage. You may turn one of your face down prize cards up. If you do, this attack does 80 more damage, and the prize card remains face up for the rest of the game. You can slap 160, maybe in a Gardevoir deck that you really want to check out one of your prize cards. Still, even then, you just slap 160 for 3 energies. It's actually not too bad. Maybe in a Gardevoir deck, who knows? What else do we see here? It is going to be Sylveon. Flip a coin of heads, shuffle one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into their hand. Counter Catcher, Mystic Return, heads, and poof, you put the opponent back in their deck. It's not discarding, so it will never be seeing a lot of play. There is a Toxicroak, allowing you to slap 180 damage if the opponent is an evolution Pokemon. Still not good enough. Blood Moon Ursaluna is good enough. It actually is a very crazy basic Pokemon with 150 HP. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting type energies from your hand to this Pokemon. Very similar to the Galarian Zapdos of the way of Evolving Sky. So you just dump energies into play, and then with E-Switch you can get them onto Pokemon that you really want. So that means stuff like a Tinglu can now start attacking on the first turn, going second with some E-Switch combos. I know, it seems crazy, but that's something as an example you could do. And its attack is also not too bad, 100 damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if they have like a lot of damage, they will be being beat up by a Blood Moon Ursaluna. Slitherwing, ancient Pokemon, 20 damage. If your opponent has a future Pokemon in play, you actually stop 120 more damage. This is the exact numbers you need to hit in order to one-shot the one and only Iron Hands EX. That way you're slapping 140, and that's gonna be 280. So even with a Bravery Charm, you one-shot an Iron Hands. So this is an anti-Iron Hands card, but it only works if the opponent has future Pokemon in play. Okay. A Crobat line. Once during your turn, if you played Janine's Secret Technique from your hand, during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 8 cards in the hand. Yo, I remember Magnetic Draw back in the days of Triumphant and Magnazone Prime. Just drawing cards on an ability seems strong, but for that to happen, the attack also needs to be good, and that's something that is lacking here. Even though it comes back with free retreat, I don't think you're going to be having this as a draw engine. Definitely not, because it is a stage 2 Pokemon. 70 damage for 1 energy if you have at least 3 Darkness Pokemon in play. So you need to have 2 more Darkness Pokemon on your bench, and then you slap 70 for a colorless energy. That's actually not bad. You can also hit for weakness with that. There is a Zoroark in here that slaps 60 damage for each of your opponent's EX and V Pokemon in play. So up against something like a Raging Bolt, you can slap ridiculous amounts of damage. When Mew VMAX was around, we actually could have used something like this in the Zoroark deck. This actually is super crazy. 60 damage for every EX. Players can play around it, so I don't know if it's going to be any good. Maybe in some sort of a deck that is playing all sorts of tech cards and only plays DTE, I could see maybe, but it's still looking like bulk to me. There is the Conspiracy Tentacles. If you did not play Xerosic Sheem from your hand during this turn, this attack does nothing. Switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. This attack does 120 damage to the new active Pokemon. Okay, you can slap 120 for 1 energy. You are a stage 1, and still that is still not enough. That's how crazy it is. We're going to be checking out these supporters later. The Xerosic Seam is actually super crazy. We have an Yveltal. Put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So if you're able to play that with like Frostlass, you could be doing some disruptive stuff. Other than that, it's bulk. Now to the EXs, the Loyal Tree. Okidogi. We see that this card is all about its attack. You can power yourself up 2 basic Darkness energies from the deck actually, and you can attach them to this Pokemon, and you're poisoned instantly as well. So if you go second, you can do this. Let's hope you survive because the poison damage racks in 1-1. Then you're at 230 HP. Back to yours. 220. If the opponent hasn't slapped 220, you are done for and you're still poisoned. But the thing is, with the crazy chain, you're slapping 260 if you are poisoned. And you can rack that up with the Hisuian Sneasler in the format, Radiant Hisuian Sneasler. And there's also the capability of course, the Stadium card for an additional 2 extra damage counters. And you can even put this new tool card, the Binding Mochi, allowing you to slap 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon and equip that. So if you're poisoned, you're slapping 40 more. So if we combine that all together, you can one-shot anything with Okidogi, but you're a 2-prize beat stick. That does require way too many energies in my book to be worth it. And I think if you want a 2-prize beat stick, you're better off playing Raging Bolt EX Ogerpon. Next up is Munkidori EX. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, and if you have Pecharunt EX in play, your opponent takes 1 for your prize card. I think this is not going to be helpful, even though in theory you could put a Legacy Energy on here and have that Pecharunt EX in play, and then suddenly you're a 0 prize Pokemon. I know, but Legacy Energy can only be used once, even if you Silene it, so I don't see it working there. And if you put this up on your field, you're having all low HP Pokemon on your field, and just to slap 190 damage, I don't see it working out. Fezandipiti though is a card I really adore, as a spiritual successor to the Oricorio GX, that actually makes sure you can draw 3 cards if one of your opponent, if your opponent knocked out a Pokemon during their last turn. If they knock something out, you can draw 3 cards. This is gonna help out for those risky, unfair, and Iono moves. You can just safely slap this down on the bench and have some protection against hand disruption. Could also work out in 1-prize decks just to make sure you don't brick. If your 1-prizer gets knocked out, then you slap this down. It's a very great ability. I like this a lot. And you can also snipe 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And it works in every deck because it's all colorless energies. Pecharunt EX though. This actually is, Pecharunt is a crazy Pokemon because once during your turn, you may switch one of your bench Darkness Pokemon, except any Pecharunt with your active Pokemon. If you do, your new active Pokemon is now poisoned. You can only use it once. Reminds me back of the days of Caldeo EX and the Floatstone shenanigans. This actually is gonna help out to have, of course, always switching capabilities. Let's say you're up against Snorlax Block and you have this into your list. Every single turn, you may switch one of your benched Darkness Pokemon, except any Pecharunt, and then you can instantly switch between your Charizards like that. So built-in switch for your Darkness Pokemon, that's gonna help out the Snorlax Block matchup a lot. So I think if you want to still play Zard at Worlds and Snorlax Block and control these archetypes are around, this actually could be a nice include, and it also slaps 60 damage for each prize card your opponent has taken, even though it does require Darkness type energies. Interesting. Moving forward is Genesect, the ACE SPEC killer. I wondered when we get an ACE SPEC canceller, and now we have one with Genesect. If this Genesect has a tool card equipped it, your opponent can't play any ACE SPEC cards from their hand. Meaning stuff like Legacy Energy from hand, forget it. They can still use, of course, the Primal Turbo to get Legacy Energy into play. It's only from the hand. So mainly you would be stopping stuff like Prime Catchers. That's going to be the big one, I suppose. Or Unfair Stamp from being played because you have Genesect with a tool equipped. So that's going to be super nice to have around. Also stuff like Hero Escape can also not be put down. So all the ACE packs all together are shut down with Genesect. Very powerful ability because ACE packs are just that good. And protecting yourself from Prime Catcher and specific decks out there could get yourself the win condition. Be careful of stuff like the Lost Vacuum. That can be very hurtful for sure. There's a Copperajah, 200 HP, stage 1. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any Stadium cards from their hand. Not being able to play Stadiums, not a big deal, I suppose, because there's not a lot of crazy powerful Stadiums out there, not like Path to the Peak before it, so we don't have actually a crazy Stadium war going around, although you could make sure the opponent cannot overlap specific Stadiums. If we get like really strong Stadiums, I think Copperajah in combination with this new Stadium could be nice. Prevent all damage done to the Pokemon that don't have rule boxes by attacks from your opponent's EX and V Pokemon. And then if you have something like this Copperajah, they cannot overlap the Stadium, meaning the only way they can get rid of that crazy Stadium is using something like a Lost Vacuum. So Copperage, I could see it being played in that situation, and decks that don't play Lost Vacuum and only have EX and V Pokemon. You can just make sure you have a Copperage deck, and you are going to be preventing all the damage to Pokemon that don't have rule boxes. That's going to be crazy. But more on the supporters and stuff later. We're going to be talking about the upcoming card now, and that's going to be a Fracture. Whenever your opponent plays an item or supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. So Balsasaurus, forget about it. Prime Catcher, forget about it. Crushing Hammer, forget about it. All these kind of things are... Fracture is actually having the Unnerve ability. But more importantly, we get a Haxorus. I already made a video about Regidrago V-Star and how I think it's already good in Twilight Masquerade format, but with Fabled, yeah. What's the set called again? Shrouded Fables? Yeah. With the Shrouded Fable set, we will get Haxorus, and that's going to be included into the Regidrago V-Star deck, and now suddenly Regidrago V-Star can one-shot anything that has a special energy attached because of Axe Down. I love this. I've been a huge fan of Beedrill, played at EOIC 2022, and yeah, I would say I'm having a soft spot in my heart for attacks that just one-shot that have special energies. Okay, now we have Kyurem, also part of, yeah, this could be splashed into any deck, but more importantly also could work for the Regidrago V-Star archetype. Is this the end of Lost Box, you might add? With this card, if your opponent has a card in their discard pile with Colress in its name, you can actually use Triforce for a colorless energy, meaning you, and this attack actually stops 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, that's huge news. You might think, is Lost Box deck? Lost Box will not be dead with this. People could be playing Palpat to recover their Colress out of the discard pile. People could be playing Manaphy to protect themselves from the 110 damage spread, so that's always something that could happen. And even though you could be playing Prime Catcher and Cologne, which can be a very crazy combo in combination with Kyurem, a double Manaphy solution is always the thing. If you're afraid of Kyurem, you can tag double Manaphy, but Lost Box will not be dead because of this card, but it's super great to put it in check though. So Kyurem is here. Then we have Persian, also comes back with a very crazy illustration art, and it's actually not good, but it's a bulk card. We're also going to get a lot of beautiful illustration cards that you really want to have if you're a collector. There's a Furfrou, allowing you to accelerate the basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon while slapping 30 damage. A Beware, that's just menacingly staring into your soul, and yeah, pretty much a bulk card. Talking about bulk cards, these ACE SPEC cards will never be used. Look at them. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burnt and confused. Not even as good as Hypnotoxic Laser. It's just so bad. At best, you're slapping 20 additional damage with an ACE SPEC. You'll have way powerful ACE SPECs like Unfair Stamp, Legacy Energy, Prime Catcher. These are way better than Dangerous Laser will ever be. Poke Vitality A. Heal 150 damage. In theory, this might have been great if we would have been able to recover it. Things like Silene and keep on healing tanky decks. Maybe stuff like a Heatran VMAX would have been having a shot at it, but nope. They have the limitation line here. If this card is in your discard pile, it cannot be put in your deck or hand. So why did they have to nerf this ACE SPEC? I'm not a big fan of it. It will never see play, in my opinion, because Scoop Up Cyclone is 100% better. Even though you need to like redo all your energy attachment and stuff, you can heal everything. Nightly Stretcher, it is not Rescue Stretcher. Hold your horses, it is Nightly Stretcher. Putting a basic Pokemon or a basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. So a little bit less good than Rescue Stretcher for sure, but it has the flexibility of getting either a basic energy or a Pokemon. I might see this working out in specific decks that like only have big basic Pokemon, so you can just recover a basic Pokemon instantly into your hand, or having a basic energy card, so like an Ogerpon decks maybe. Binding Mochi is very great. I could see combos going with the Brood Bonnet, poisoning yourself, meaning that you can then slap 40 additional damage. 40 additional damage is strong on a tool card, even though you poison yourself. Can this be some math fixers for specific archetypes? Like some decks want to be playing maximum bout, but also want to have stuff like Prime Catcher, and now you might have a combo, but then flooding your deck with annoying cards like Brood Bonnet. I don't see it happening, but it will be of course used in of course the yeah, Okidogi deck, the stage 2 Beatstick deck. Even though we have a better stage 2 Beatstick deck out there with Raging Bolt, this actually is gonna help that deck out. Also, now that I think about it, you can put this onto a Cramorant, and then you could also have Brood Bonnet, and suddenly your Spit Innocently will slap for 150. But that's just something YOLO I just came up with on the spot, but cool card. We have the Power Hourglass. At the end of your turn, if this Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, you may attach one basic energy card from your discard pile to that Pokemon. So this activates at the end of the turn. That's actually pretty interesting. This could be used with something like a Greninja EX. You use that barrage attack to slap 120 damage to 2 targets. You discard 2 energies, and at the end of your turn, once you've attacked, the attack phase goes through and all that stuff, and then you can accelerate a basic energy from your discard pile to that Pokemon. So that could be useful, getting back energies, and it is a tool card, so interesting. Colorless Tendency, before you ask, yes, Kyurem also works if Colorless Tendency is in your discard pile. This search is a Stadium card and an Energy card. So we have Universal, Special Energy Search, and Stadium Search. Very great because we do get a Stadium ACE SPEC card for the very first time, and Energy cards are also nice to fetch out. Specific decks out there that maybe in the future when we're going to be playing the Hisuian Zoroark V-Star deck with the new Stadium card that comes out in the next set after the Shrouded Fable set, we might actually need one of these copies to just fetch yourself double turbo energy. So super cool indeed. Janine's Secret Technique. Choose up to 2 of your Darkness Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Darkness energy and attach it to that Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. If you attach any energy in this way, that Pokemon is now poisoned. Okay, so this is gonna help out the Okidogi. So Attachment, Dark Patch, and Janine can get yourself into some one-shot opportunities. You're instantly poisoned as well, and you can have that tool card. So 300 damage quite easily, I might add. Is it better than Raging Bolt Ogerpon? Who knows, but it's another stage 2 beat stick deck. And you might fill up your deck with some more one-price Darkness Pokemon as well. So this is actually what the Darkness deck needed. There is another supporter out there, Cassiopeia? I don't even know, it's Penny with a disguise. We see here, you can only use this card when it's the last card in your hand. Search your deck for 2 cards and put them into your hand. Okay, instantly search for 2 cards, maybe in decks that can clean out their hand quite easily. This might be useful, or I don't know, sometimes you do have cards you cannot play, so it's always very hard to pull this off. Maybe as a one-off, so Ultra Ball, tinning your hand, Luminion, then discard. Interesting, cool card indeed. Then the 06 Scheme, your opponent discards cards from their hand until they only have 3 cards in their hand. Now, if that is a Lost Box and Snorlax Blocker Control anti-card, I don't know what is. Slap this down, and like imagine you're up against a Lost Box in the mid to late game, they have 12 cards in their hand. They will need to discard 9 cards from their hand. This is insane. This is a very, very crazy supporter. But on the other hand, this can also help out control-edged archetypes using this card as well. It's a very crazy, disruptive supporter that is going to trim the hand down. Yeah, although we do have an item card that trims it down to 5, will people rather play the supporter here using 06 and then use something like some grabbers and stuff? Disruptive supporter for sure. They keep on printing very powerful supporters. Neutral Center is, of course, the first Stadium that is an ACE SPEC card, and it prevents all damage done to Pokemon that don't have rule boxes by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon EX and V Pokemon. If this card is in the discard pile, it can be put into your deck or hand. So again, the line here really makes the card a little bit less good. Definitely in a format that people are having a lot of Arbans in the list and Lost Vacuum. Lost Vacuum gets rid of this card and you will never see it back, even though when the Vacuum puts it in the Lost Zone, even if it was put in the discard pile, you can never get it back. The only way this helps is if there's a lot of top decks out there that only require 1 Stadium, and then you can stall out a couple of turns so the opponent cannot dish out enough damage. Like imagine you're playing the United Wings deck and you have Neutral Center, and then you have a lot of time to set up because the opponent is not able to hit you. I could also see this working out in something like, I would say, a Gardevoir deck. You just slap this down and just make sure the opponent cannot attack you time and time again until you're ready to get your EXs and V Pokemon out. Interesting for sure as protection, but it's a one-off and you don't find it very often. The only way you can find it is through the means of a Forest Sealstone or to something like the Colorless Tendency. So very hard to find this one-off Stadium in your deck, but it's a very strong one. But if it's discarded, you can never get it back. Now to one of my favorite cards from the set, Nighttime Academy. Once during each player's turn, that player may put a card from their hand on top of their deck. I like this. I like this a lot. So putting a card on top of the deck not only has yourself Iono protection, very strong. Like have the Stadium out, put a research on top, and you're Iono protected. very crazy and very crazy indeed, but also works out against specific stuff. Like I would say you're playing Miraidon and you want to use Electric Generator, you have a Lightning Energy in hand, you can ensure that your Electric Generator is gonna be at least getting hit in one target because you put an energy on top of the deck. So Iono protection and stuff to help out your generator. I think this is gonna be a card for Miraidon for sure. And also, yeah, you can put cards back in the deck and then go for your own supporters so you don't have them in hand anymore. This could be useful against Snorlax block. If you're afraid you're going to be using stuff like Erika's Invitation, you can just put it on top and then use something like an Iono to shuffle them. And that's going to be meaning... or maybe playing a card like a Nuzball and then shuffling, getting nothing out the deck. That means the card you had in hand is now shuffled back in the deck. Something like that could also happen as well. But lots of crazy cool cards. But if we take a quick look at it, the World Championships over at Honolulu, Hawaii, will there be anything we can take away from this? Control-ish decks might use Xerosic. Neutral Center might be great for some one-price decks out there. Maybe we should play Regigigas with the Neutral Center. What else can we think about? Is Regigigas even still legal? I should check because it's been so while. It's been a while. Janosek will be a card that's going to be thinking about if you're playing a lot of tool cards in your list and you want to protect yourself from ACE SPECs. You can think about Janosek. Pecharunt for the Charizard matchup or just in the Okidogi itself for some free retreat. Fezandipiti for draw power if you get like knocked out during their last turn, so you have a little bit of hand advantage. Iono protection. The Stadium was good, Revavroom is not good, Kingdra also not too good, Dartrix probably also will not see any play. We already had a Slitherwing, but this Slitherwing is actually way better against Iron Hand, so this is actually something you could think about. But more importantly, Haxorus for Regidraco V-Star and the Kyurem that might be included. So if you're going to the World Championships and you still play Lost Box, be wary of this. Maybe play 1 or 2 Pal Pass to protect yourself from some colorists that are in your discard pile. You don't always need a lot of colorists to, of course, win battles. And what else? Yeah, I think that's probably it. A Lost Box will be putting a target on his head because of the option of Kyurem, but as we've seen with Mew VMAX, even with Path, with something like counter cards that came out for it, it kept going, and that's going to be the same thing for Lost Box. So yeah, we're also going to be seeing a new archetype, the Okidogi deck. Hopefully you guys are going to be in the mood for that. It's still a stage 1, actually a basic beat stick deck. You do have 250 HP, but you need to get poisoned all the time, so you will get knocked out by poison eventually. So still don't know how to feel about it, but it could still be an archetype. Maybe Okidogi be barrel, and you play that Janine. Was it Janine? It was probably Janine, right? Yeah. The Janine's secret technique, and off you go. You have a new archetype that you can test out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. It helps out in many ways to support the channel. Only requires 1 tiny second every time, and subscribe for more daily Pokemon TCG videos. Go check out our sponsors that make the videos possible as well. Links down below to help you out. Yeah, if you want sleeves, binders, and deck boxes, Dragon Shield is there. Yourplaymat.com for your custom playmat, PokeTownStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs, and CardMarket.com for European players to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. Use the referral name ZapDoTCG to help support the channel. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow for more Pokemon TCG content. Peace!